back to school season for lots of people. Should you buy a MacBook or should you buy an iPad Pro? This is a tough question, and lots of people are wondering if they should get a MacBook or an iPad. And currently, that's a very valid question. So if you are excited, drop a like down below, subscribe to the channel. I will help you out decide between an iPad or a MacBook. I own both. Let's get started. So, lots of people usually buy MacBooks because they think a computer is the better option when you go to university or school. But in my opinion, that's not true. Because the MacBook, it's the old computer. Yes, the MacBook, it's like an old computer. You are used to it. You have macOS, you have lots of features. This is a work device, only a worky-focused device. Because it does not have a touchscreen, because it's not as intuitive, it does not have an Apple Pencil. So for lots of people, the MacBook is the perfect tool. But for some, it is not. And in my opinion, most students would benefit more of having the iPad Pro, yes, the iPad Pro, this is the 12.9-inch, the 13-inch iPad Pro with the M4 chip, rather than the MacBook. And pretty simple, because this iPad Pro does have the Apple Pencil. It can use the Apple Pencil for several stuff, and it's really, really easy to use, very intuitive, and most students are used to, at least the younger ones, to iOS. And most people are used to iOS, rather than macOS. And rather than having a new learning curve, having the iPad Pro, it's a very, very easy option. It does have macOS, and it's very simple to use. I don't think it has battery right now, but it's very, very simple to use. It's very, very similar to iPhone, and it's super powerful. Now you have tons of new features with iPadOS 26 that I've been using the iPad like record high times because I added all my shorts, all my reels, all my short videos here. I use it for work, I use it for university, I use it to study. And with the Magic Keyboard, it turns out to be a very, very effective laptop. So I do believe that for most students, the iPad Pro is the better option. It has an OLED screen, the best OLED screen in the market. It's so bright, so powerful, and so accurate. It does have an incredible touchscreen. Again, touchscreen, you can use it with your fingers, and it's much, much better than the ancient method of using the keyboard and mouse for most young students. Yes, because I'm not saying that objectively is better than the MacBook, because that shouldn't be true. I use the MacBook for real work. The MacBook has real advantages over the iPad Pro, but I think that for most students, you are better served with the iPad Pro than the MacBook Pro. And this is the short answer. If you don't want to watch any more of the video, this is your short answer. The iPad Pro, in my opinion, is the best value out of the two. Because for most students, you need an Apple Pencil to take notes on class. Then you can get home, and when you want to study on pen and paper, because you should, then you use your iPad Pro, use it with a Magic Keyboard and a stand, and you can have a laptop with all of your handwritten notes. Then it has all the advantages of having a touchscreen. It's much more portable than this 16-inch MacBook Pro if you want a bigger computer. If you want the smaller 12 or 13-inch computers, then it will be around the same size and the same weight. And with a Magic Keyboard, you have the same trackpad and keyboard experience. So I would say that the biggest differences between the iPad Pro and the MacBook Pro truly are the software system. The only thing that the iPad Pro does have in terms of hardware over the MacBook Pro is a touchscreen.
The fact that you can also remove the iPad Pro after finishing working and take it with you to be a media consumption device everywhere that you want and leave the Magic Keyboard is also a very powerful feature. Being able to use your hands, your fingers to edit photos and videos and touch them is also a very, very cool thing that is very undervalued on the iPad Pro, as well as the Apple Pencil. The Apple Pencil is a very useful thing that you can use to be a more precise input method on the iPad Pro that you can also use to draw and take notes. And I think it's a very, very powerful thing, especially for students, whenever you want to use your iPad to study on university. Of course, the iPad Pro can also be used with an external monitor. So if you want to use it with an external monitor as a computer, you also can. So you have several ways to use the iPad Pro, and none of them are wrong. Again, this is a very, very powerful device.
So, short answer, for most students, the iPad Pro is the best option. And this video could end right here. Yes, I could simply say, well, the iPad Pro is the best option, and the MacBook is an ancient computer, it's not worth it anymore. But, well, every time that I say this, and every time that Apple launches a new feature on the iPad Pro, they launch a completely new MacBook that turns out to be an insane value. And that's true, because according to rumors, Apple is going to launch an A19 Pro MacBook that's going to cost $600. And here's the thing, that iPad Pro that I showed you, the combo with the Magic Keyboard, Apple Pencil, and M4 chip, iPad Pro with a 13-inch display costs around $1,800 to $2,000, while a $600 MacBook will have almost all the experience of that iPad Pro, and excluding the touchscreen, for $600. So the MacBooks will always be cheaper. They will always be a better working computer, and they will always be a better value working computer. But the iPad Pro gives you more and gives you a better experience. So it's very, very tough to actually recommend something to someone. It depends on your priorities, on your needs. But if you do have an iPad currently, then buying a Mac would be a better option. If you do have a Mac currently, buying an iPad Pro would be a better option. And if you want to join them together, they work seamlessly. They have CarPlay, which is awesome. You can use one, has a screen, and mirror the screen on the other. You can use your, I think it's mouse and keyboard on the iPad Pro without doing anything. You just can pass it over. You can copy and paste stuff with handoff. There's tons of features. You have iMessage, you have Apple Maps, you have Apple Notes, you have Apple Music everywhere. You have SharePlay, you have almost the same apps on both devices. So they both work seamlessly between each other. They are incredible companions, and if you have both, enjoy them because they work very, very well together. If you don't have any of them, then it depends on which one do you need. If you are not a student, then you need to really evaluate your needs. If you are a content creator, if you are someone that needs to edit photos and videos all the time, buying a Mac is the best option. If you need to use the web browser, if you work on AI, code, then the MacBook might be also the better option because it does have the full-fat Safari, it does have the full-fat Chrome extensions, it does have everything that you need, it does have anything that you need in terms of tools to write code, it does have everything that you need in terms of apps that you need, or system software that you need, or any type of a specific software that is actually built for Mac is not built for iPad. iPad is way more specific. You need apps to be actually installed via the App Store, so it's more limited in terms of software. Industrial software is not available on the iPad. You need to buy a MacBook for that. So if you are an engineer, if you are someone that really needs 3D render apps, then the MacBook is your only option. Even code writing apps, the MacBook is the only option. So if you are a professional and you need a new device for your work, I would still recommend buying a Mac. I still use the M1 Max MacBook Pro 16-inch. This has been a beast. I run my entire YouTube channel, my TikTok, and my Instagram Reels on this. Although I've been changing, like I said before in the video, I've been changing all my editing of the short form videos to the iPad. It's simple. I can use it on Final Cut Pro app. I don't need the plugins that I have here on the Mac, which is another limitation. If you're a video editor, you won't have any plugins on the iPad. It will be much more tougher to have third-party plugins on your iPad, while the Mac can run Premiere Pro, can run DaVinci Resolve, can run Final Cut Pro, full fat here, very, very fast. This MacBook is cheaper right now. It's a very, very powerful Mac. Cost me around $4,000 when I bought it, but you can get it very, very cheap these days, like $1,500, $1,300, $1,200 on eBay, which is quite incredible. But you can get an M2 MacBook Air for less than $1,000 these days, like $700. That's an insane value. You can get an M1 for like $400, and you can get the M4 for $1,000 new on Apple. So the thing is, these MacBooks, they are always the best value because if you analyze them, you have the power, you have the keyboard, you have the display, but you don't have the touchscreen, you don't have the Apple Pencil, you have all the specific features that make the iPad the iPad. Why the iPad can be a computer, the MacBook cannot be a tablet, cannot be a portable touchscreen device. So you need to really analyze them. This is an iPad computer. The iPad isn't a computer that can't be simply a MacBook or a laptop. It's everything that you need. It can be an iPhone. It can be your media consumption device. It can be your portable display. It can be anything that you can want it to be because iPadOS 26 made it very, very powerful, almost comparable to the Mac. But the Mac, well, the Macs will always be the productivity machines. They will always be Apple's focus on work and productivity, not just being a mixture of both. So if you want the most powerful working device, the MacBook is your choice. Oh, one thing that you need to note that is also very important is the amount of I/O you have on Macs and you don't have on iPads. On iPads, you have 2 USB-C ports if you use a Magic Keyboard. You only have 1 Thunderbolt port and 1 charging USB-C port. While on Macs, specifically on the MacBook Pros, you do have tons of I/O. You have 2 USB-Cs right here, 2 USB-Cs, and have 1 MagSafe port, 1 headphone jack, and HDMI ports and SD card slots. So if you are a productivity machine, you do really need to buy a MacBook instead of an iPad Pro. But let me know below what you think. Drop a like down below, subscribe to the channel. Bye-bye.